Look, man, 10 years ago, many moons ago, the stars aligned. And there was a crafty boxer that went on a 2014 tear. It's happening again, man. It's happening again. Before I dive into the names, it was a big homecoming fight for Danny Garcia. And he's going back to Puerto Rico. And it was supposed to be a big dance for him, a big parade. And Puerto Rico was supposed to have a Puerto Rican star. And this fighter with just intellect, craftiness, and understanding of boxing, understanding of fighting, he had his own style. He wasn't particularly fast, strong. He understood how to fight. He understood how to box. He understood his limitations. And he should have won Fighter of the Year in 2014. He should have won and had the upset of the year. And he should have been a champion. Okay. This year, from last year carrying over to this year, Ismael Barroso should have had an upset of the year, should have been a champion, and potentially up there with fighter of the year. Had Tony Weeks not robbed him. Well, 2014, Mauricio Herrera, in my opinion, he was robbed twice. He was robbed by in Puerto Rico against Danny Garcia, who at the time was 27-0, who had the world at the palm, right? He was pound for pound. He just had knocked out Amir Khan. Danny Garcia had a lot of momentum until he ran into Mauricio Herrera, right? For those that remember Danny Garcia, when he was campaigning at 140, he had knocked out Amir Khan, right? He was probably a 10-1 underdog. He ends up rematching Eric Morales, beat Sav Judah. And then again, people thought he was going to get beat by Lucas Matisse, and he completely beats him, outboxes him, knocks him down. He was superior. Everybody loved Danny Garcia until Mauricio Herrera. Mauricio Herrera, no one's going to remember his name. No one's going to fight for justice for this dude in his career. I think the last time people remember about Mauricio Herrera is being knocked out cold against Virgil Ortiz. In fact, let me pull up some highlights. In that same year, Mauricio Herrera ends up being Joan Perez, and he ends up fighting another undefeated fighter in Jose Benavidez Jr. That's right, the older brother of David, the same fighter that went distance with Bud Crawford. Except when Mauricio Herrera fought Jose Benavidez, right? Jose hadn't been shot yet. And you can say, if you're a man of numbers, in both fights, Mauricio Herrera outlanded. And if you watch the fight, you can say that he definitely beat Danny Garcia and Jose Benavidez Jr. Max Kellerman would say the same thing. And 10 years later, into 2023, 2024, a 40-year-old guy from Ecuador or Colombia or Venezuela by the name of Ismael Barroso ends up pulling off similar feats, ends up beating and knocking down Rolly Romero, only to be robbed in, I don't know, some bogus fight stoppage. And everybody, even Golden Boy had signed O'Hara Davis, and Ismael Barroso knocks him out in the first round. All right. This is what I mean by the stars aligning. Not only are there similar stories being told, right, in terms of just the fighters and narratives and undisputed clashes, but there's also maybe a new player, a new promoter, a new network trying to create their own version of the Super Bowl, but for boxing. In fact, in last night's live, even though it was a very lengthy one and a lot of the talking points get muddled and lost in translation, one of the topping points was that boxing needs a Super Bowl. Along with a lot of things, it needs its own Super Bowl weekend. Maybe Turki-Al sheik, along with Saudi Arabia, maybe those are the plans that they have for the sport of boxing. Before we get into that, let's talk about Mauricio Herrera. And let's actually show some clips of these two fights, just so you guys don't think I'm just talking shit and a loser trying to rewrite history, because I don't think that's what's going on here. But as I find these footage, and hopefully I'm able to find them. All right, let's go with present, share screen here. Man, check this out. I'll probably run the whole fight highlight just so you guys can see that. Man, this is believable.
We go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the challenger, Mauricio and Maestro Herrera. And his opponent across the ring, the defending champion, fighting under the blue corner, with red trunks with black trim, Danny Sweet Garcia. He attacks the body with the right hand. Herrera trying to mix the jab up and down, just trying to give Garcia different targets. Attacks the midsection with the jabs. He's landed that jab to the stomach very well. Garcia with the straight right hand. He's landing big punches already early. Yeah, Herrera has this pesky style. You know, he knows how to just hang in there and win rounds when needed. Herrera again attacking the body with the jab. Round two begins. An example of the peskiness of Herrera there on the inside in a clinch. He's trying to move his hands and just land those little baby shots. As Garcia tries to load up some left hooks here. Herrera continues to target the body with the jab. Garcia's fight is all about positioning. He wants to keep himself in punch position at all times. Well balanced. Partial left hook there. Herrera targeting the body. Lead overhand right by Herrera connected. There's a triple jab by Herrera. And Garcia's head just got popped back. But there's Garcia with a lead right hand to the side of Herrera's head. And again, Herrera continues to target the torso of the champion. He's showing us his defense. Very slick the right hand. His jab is working over time and showing you combinations he can throw them. 45 seconds left in the second round. That's what I mean right here. See what Herrera's doing? Just trying to keep Garcia uncomfortable. He's keeping his hands in the wall. Garcia's trying to clinch and regain position. He has a patient stalking approach. Double jab. There's a lead left uppercut by Garcia that connects. Double jab again to the midsection, followed by a right hand to the breadbasket by Herrera. Counter right. Good second round for the challenger. The champion comes on in the dying seconds of round two. As again they clinch right away. Herrera coming in close and again with the jab to the sternum. Herrera has landed some nice hooks like that. But this is exactly what Herrera told us he wanted out of this fight. He wanted to make it uncomfortable. He wanted to make it ugly for Danny Garcia. Now holding the back of his head and clubbing him with a couple of right hands, being admonished by.
You guys can watch the remaining highlights on your own if you want. But basically, like I said, Mauricio Herrera doesn't really have a lot of speed and a lot of power, but he's very crafty. As Paulie Malignaggi likes to state, he's very pesky. He's just got a great understanding of and a sneaky way of landing punches. Very creative. He goes on to do the same thing against Jose Benavidez Jr. And unfortunately, HBO doesn't give us the great highlights. So let's see what they were able to comprise in 50 seconds, man. Look, man, I don't even think that's a lot of highlights from HBO, man. And they should be ashamed of themselves. It looks like some PBC highlights. If I remember correctly in this fight, though, same thing kind of like the Danny Garcia fight with Mauricio Herrera. Jose laid a lot of the time on the ropes. His back was up against the ropes, and Herrera was just teeing off. Boom, boom, boom. And if you were to do a simple Google search and put Danny Garcia versus Mauricio Herrera CompuBox, and type in the same thing for Mauricio Herrera versus Jose Benavidez CompuBox, you would find out that in both fights, Mauricio Herrera not only throws more than both of them, at the end, he lands more punches than both of them. All right. And the reason I bring up Mauricio Herrera to tie it back down is because the stars are aligning, and Ismael Barroso, a guy who's not going to necessarily get a lot of top tier promotion, but 10 years later, he's having the same level of success as Herrera. And the business side of boxing, the politics of it, is also stealing his shine. 2014 should have been Mauricio Herrera's year. Should have been upset of the year, fighter of the year, and he should have been a champion. Same thing with Barroso, a 40-year-old man. And unfortunately, maybe the losers are trying to rewrite history here, or in this case, me. But Barroso should be having that Pitbull Cruz fight on the Tim Tszyu Keith Thurman undercard, or headlining that event, whatever the case may be, right? Rolly should not be in this position that he's in. I mean, this is a guy that, for better or worse, I mean, what big fight is he known for? In fact, he's only relatively known for roughhousing tactics and being ruthless against Ryan Garcia in sparring. That's essentially it, right? Because in any other highlights, the dude's getting beat up and he's getting knocked down by prospects, by up-and-comers. And, I mean, he's not, not to be derogatory, but he's the clown of boxing. If you were to put a big old sticky red nose, red, fucking farcical thing on his nose, he would look like a clown. Color his hair up a little bit with green, yellow, and all the rainbow colors. He would just play the part. That's Rolly Romero, right? But anyway, Ismael Barroso should be in that position to be carrying the momentum and be called the champion. And if you doubted him once, he followed it up by knocking out O'Hara Davis in the first round. And Golden Boy signed O'Hara Davis to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to beat Ismael Barroso so he can become that WBA regular champion, and maybe Ryan Garcia can fight him. But as Ryan Garcia tries to, for some reason, cross over the pond and be very cryptic in his Instagram and his Twitter or his X account, whatever it's called now, he should be looking to fight Ismael Barroso. All he has to do is a sentence or two and be like, I'm going to fight the real WBA champion, and his name is Ismael Barroso. Bring it on. That's all he has to say. He doesn't have to go back and forth with a weird guy and Rolly only toes Romero. He doesn't have to go back and forth with that guy. All right. But like always, Ryan Garcia finds himself in this capping situation where, he talks more than he fights. Anyway, I just want to give the flowers to Mauricio Herrera and Ismael Barroso and let them know that I haven't forgotten. And I will never forget. And shout out to Golden Boy, because throughout these times, man, he was giving us all the fights that we needed. He gave us Lucas Matisse, Danny Garcia, all those fights, that many people that have a lot of replay value. I preface this part, and I bring this topics and these fighters up hand because, the stars are aligning all over again and history is tending to repeat itself. So we have this new player in the game, Turki-Al Sheik. He looks to be a very powerful, influential human being. And he's trying to, for better or worse, create his own Las Vegas in Saudi Arabia, right? Everybody might know the name. You guys might recognize him, Similar how DAZN was trying to run and try to tell us that pay-per-view was dead and that they had $1 billion contract. Well, Turki-Al Sheik, they're making very similar business-like decisions, trying to recruit the fights and the best fights that other promoters have been trying to promote and have matchmake to get to this position. For example, they will be hosting, it appears on, February 17th or so, Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury. It took, Frank Warren and Top Rank to finally get Tyson Fury to become a champion and a household name. And it looks like Turki-Al Sheik and Saudi Arabia will be reaping all the benefits by hosting that undisputed fight. It's a mega fight. It's a very important fight for the heavyweight division. And it looks like Saudi Arabia, being the highest bidder in auction, is hosting that event. Now, if I'm Top Rank, if I'm ESPN, I'm a little salty. If I'm an avid boxing fan, that fight should be hosted somewhere in between Europe, but it's going to be hosted in Saudi Arabia, it appears, during the Riyadh season. I'm not too familiar with all the particulars, but it should be in between U6 homeland and the UK. What makes it even worse is regular folks like us won't be having access to buy a boxing ticket and go to the event, right? You have to be a one percenter. You got to be the elites of the elites. I'm talking about got to be the Conor McGregors of the world. Got to be Mike Tyson. It's a very exclusive club, right? So it goes to show that this show is all about presentation, right? And if that doesn't really impress you, like how DAZN was trying to throw out these big contracts that they signed Canelo Alvarez with an 11 fight deal worth north of 300 million, and they were trying to poach all the PBC inactive fighters. They're trying to Turki-Al Sheik and Saudi Arabia are trying to replicate that level of spunk that DAZN did when they were trying to have that transatlantic deal. They're trying to poach and take Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. They're trying to make these big fights happen all over again. Look, man, I'm not going to knock down a person that has a lot of great ideas or the financial backings or they're idealists into the sport of boxing. But the first ignorant comments that Tank, spewed out when negotiations were trying to happen, he was like, man, you guys got to buy me 2 Ferraris. They basically did the same thing to Eddie Hearn. I think it was Adrian Broner. And Adrian Broner said some shit to Eddie Hearn, was like, yo, bro, don't talk about how, I got to talk to a promoter. And he tried to burn bridges off the gate. I forgot exactly the quotes. I thought I was going to remember. But Adrian Broner he shot the shit and he just burned bridges with DAZN and Eddie Hearn, much like when 50 Cent was trying to be a player and signed Adrian Broner to like 3-year, $50 million deal. And in Rock Nation Sports, and Adrian Broner, I think it might have been 50 Cent or Jay-Z. And Adrian Broner just publicly and on through social media just shit all over him. Look, man, I don't know what this loyalty or I don't know, unconditional love these boxers have towards PBC, but PBC is very unprofessional. All right. They're very unprofessional. When you are an inactive, all right, because these fighters and boxers' job are their job is to compete. When the company keeps you on the reserve, when you are an inactive, it's very unprofessional. That means they can't get you fights. That means you're not eating, you're not getting paid, you're not building a career. You're on call. And that's how PBC has operated the last decade or so. And for the better or worse, they've not for better or worse, for worse, they've just damn near ruined the sport, you can say. Up until last year, they finally gave us a lot of the fights that we wanted. And even then, it wasn't enough to save their platform with Showtime. Truly Trey, what's going on, bro? Man, I'm chilling, bro. Chilling. Everything's going pretty good. Fasting, if you would say, man. I've been haven't really been eating. That's per choice. Just been drinking a lot of fluids and trying to get a lot of mechanical work done on my little car, man. It's breaking down on me, and they gave me a good little 10 years, but hopefully I can get another 10 out of it. But we'll see over the weekend what I'm able to foster up and go from there. But yeah, Turki-Al Sheik is trying to make all these big fights happen. He's going to throw out a lot of numbers, right? But hopefully PBC and company, they're able to play ball. That's all I wish, man. Hopefully Tank Davis and these fighters wise up and they realize, man, Saudi money is good money, right? Just like Eddie Hearn's money with DAZN is good money. Hopefully the Charlos wise up and they're like, yeah, bro, I'll go across the pond and I'll fight Tim Tszyu, or I'll fight whatever big fighters that you got over there. I'll fight them. Hopefully these fighters understand that you can get paid in cryptocurrency and you can send it to, your bank through Binance USA or all these other Coinbase situations, and it'll show up on your bank account. The transfer wire is legit. Their money is good money. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Dune. I love films. I mean, you can realize how Turki-Al Sheik inherited or received all that money. If you saw the movie Dune, you would know it's like, damn, He's a resourceful man. Yo, Truly Trey, I got a question for you, man. By any chance, do you know who Mauricio Herrera is? Have you ever seen one of his fights? I'm gonna just wait to see if Truly Trey's still in the chat. Yeah, give me a thumbs up and be like, yeah, bro, I know Mauricio Herrera. I mean, hey, you should smoke weed. Do you know him, brother? Let me know if you know him, man. Let me see. Yeah, I talked about the CompuBox, talked about Barroso, Danny G, Mauricio Herrera. No, I haven't seen his fights live, only just the highlights. Yeah, man. I think he retired in 2019 after Virgil Ortiz knocked him out like within 6 rounds. It was sad, man. It was sad. And unfortunately, I felt like, just it comes with age. It comes with the whole adage, in with the new, out with the old. It was Mauricio Herrera's time to hang it up, right? Much very similar to how Paulie Malignaggi. See, actually, that's a really great comparison. Paulie Malignaggi and Mauricio Herrera have a really similar career. In fact, Paulie Malignaggi had the gift of gab where he was able to keep himself extremely relevant because he was a great shit talker and he had impeccable moments that will probably stand the test of time, right? Where his moments with Keith Thurman in the press conference, the situation with him and Adrian Broner, and I beat Paulie and took his girl. You can't be talking about my side piece. Paulie was able to maximize his career. Fortunately, Mauricio Herrera didn't really have those moments outside of the ring, but inside of it, he was very crafty. He worked within his limitations, and he gave a lot of undefeated fighters like Danny Garcia, like undefeated Jose Benavidez Jr., a run for their money. Paulie, like Mauricio Herrera, are very crafty, and hopefully Herrera was able to make a good buck in the sport of boxing, right? Because, he will be forgotten. But in 2014, bro, he had the world fucking losing their minds, bro. A lot of people couldn't believe, myself included, after Danny Garcia was beating Zab Judah, knocking out Amir Khan, the way he manhandled Lucas Matisse, outboxed him and dropped him and gave him a closed eye. I couldn't believe what I was seeing when Mauricio Herrera was landing and busting up Danny Garcia within the first 2 rounds, bro. Let me just show you a little bit of highlights, because you did talk about that you have seen them, but only highlights only. This is Mauricio Herrera, bro.
The referee lead left hook to the side of the head there. That was partially blocked by Herrera's glove. Here comes Herrera. See him misses with the counter left hook. Man, Garcia fights off the ring a little bit here. That's what you want to see. Again, nothing spectacular, but effective in neutralizing Garcia. We are headed to round 4 of this championship affair.
The crazy part about Mauricio Herrera, bro, is that he stayed in the pocket. He was very crafty. He was able to use shoulder rolls. He did like the Philly shell. Man, he did like the Ronald Wright, like hand placement, karate chop, blocking, parrying. He was Chris Bird at moments. Dude, he was crafty, man. Truly Trey goes, no, I haven't seen his fights live, only highlights. He was before I could purchase pay-per-views. He was in his prime before I could purchase pay-per-views. Yeah, man. I don't think Mauricio Herrera was ever a prize fighter. He was ever a fighter that landed on pay-per-views. But he went on to fight a lot of great fighters like Danny Garcia, like Virgil Ortiz. He went on to fight, man, this one always breaks my heart. But he was a cat from Southern California. His name was Frankie Gomez. For those that remember Frankie Gomez, Golden Boy was trying to sign Frankie and Jose Benavidez Jr. because these guys had like over 100 amateur fights and they were winning a lot of Golden Glove tournaments. Anyway, Frankie Gomez that I saw was the only fighter that truly made Mauricio Herrera look like a bum, okay? Because Mauricio Herrera was never a bum. But Frankie Gomez, he was like the Mexican-American version of Keith Thurman from Florida, right? And shout out to Keith Thurman because it looks Like, he got himself a championship fight at 154 against Tim Tszyu. I don't know why he would agree to that, because he's been inactive for 2 years. And if you think you're gonna just throw those haymakers that you threw against Sean Porter, hey, I'll be rooting for you, Thurman. You've been one of my favorite fighters for the past 10 years. But man, I don't know where you went wrong in terms of your career, bro. You should have just fought Errol Spence, unified those 3 belts. But yeah, bro, I don't know what happened. Let me see. Mauricio Herrera versus Frankie Gomez. Oh, you know Frankie Gomez, bro? I didn't think you would know Frankie Gomez. Not a lot of people remember Frankie Gomez. Man, I don't want to get all sentimental and shit, but Frankie Gomez, I think one of his sisters or his cousins reached out to me one day on this old podcast that I used to have. And she told me that Frankie Gomez just wouldn't show up to the gym. A lot of people assume that he was involved with gangs and he was doing the thug life type of thing. But from what she was telling me, she was just like, nah, he's just working at this automotive shop. He's working as a mechanic. From what she was telling me is that, he always kind of never really liked boxing or the sport of boxing. And not only did he not really love the sport of boxing, he hated training. He hated cutting weights. And there was times where Freddie Roach would basically find Frankie Gomez. He would be tracking him down in the city of East Los Angeles. And he was like, bro, you got to get to the fucking gym. You got special skills. Freddie Roach, who was knocking on doors trying to get Frankie to the gym. And then I think Frankie Gomez ended up having one big fight where I think he got paid over 150K. And then you never heard of him. I think a lot of people try to ask Oscar De La Hoya if he was ever going to make a comeback. And the last time I saw that he took a picture, he looked north of 230 pounds, right? Frankie Gomez. I could be wrong. He might have looked smaller, but you know how the camera adds like 10 pounds to your picture or whatever the case may be. Yeah, Frankie just never really made a comeback. And it was a damn shame because the guy had amazing skills. He can box. And if you wanted to dog it out on the inside, man, he was fantastic, bro. But that's, from my knowledge, what happened to Frankie. He quit the sport of boxing, probably opened up his own mechanical shop, and he's probably been an automotive tech or a mechanic ever since he retired the sport of boxing. Or maybe the signing bonuses and, the undefeated record that he had, he was able to get near $1 million and retire handsomely in LA. Some people, like Keith Thurman, some of their goals, as they've been fighting for the whole time in their career when they were young cats, their goal is just to become $1 million fighter, right? I remember Keith Thurman long time ago. He was on an escalator in a hotel or something, and he was with Ellie Seckbach. And Ellie Seckbach asked him a question like, "What is your goal is to become, or what are you trying to get out of the sport of boxing?" And he goes, "Look, man, one of the things that I want to become is become a champion." And he said, "I want to become a 6-figure fighter," right? And he wanted to be an all-time great. Like, Keith Thurman had a lot of aspirations, and if he were to look at, like his 10-year plan, he probably completed whatever it is that he wanted to do. At one point, he was on the pound-for-pound list. At one point, he was unified. He was very active in beating a lot of undefeated fighters while giving us a lot of amazing fights and getting paid handsomely. And then somewhere, I don't know, man. He just became very conscientious, probably, I don't know, on some DMT with the frogs in Florida and playing the flute and just living a peaceful life because he accomplished everything. So I can't really fault him, Not everybody has gets inspired by money and being a billion-dollar fighter. I don't know. I'm just talking right now. But yeah, man, that's what happened to Frankie Gomez. But anyway, let me show you a little bit of highlights of these dudes. In fact, I'm glad that this person, Luis Anibal, 7 years ago, still has this fight between Mauricio Herrera and Frankie Gomez.
Champion of the world in Maestro. He's had scrapes with the law. He was supposed to fight Alberto Soto last year. Never happened because he went to the scales 6.5 night though. He's on the weight and he's got a tough task against Herrera. But if he gets a win. The win's the most important. If he gets a win and it's an impressive performance from Gomez, then he makes a real statement that he's arrived at last. All that promise that he had as a great amateur career, you know, the De La Hoya backing him, and he would have repaid that back with a good win today. But it's going to be a hard night for him. Silver medal in Milan and the World Championships back in 2009 when he was just 17. Frankie Gomez only lost 8 of 128 amateur fights. Great amateur background behind him, but he's, as I said before, he's not really delivered so far, so he needs to look sharp. It's a nice left hand, but Pereira, granite chin, he's a real crafty old veteran.
Ah, bro. Yeah, Frankie Gomez was a fucking beast. Ah, dude, what a career that dude would have had. He could switch. I forgot that he could switch to southpaw. He was very athletic, man. That dude was a fucking badass, bro. I just don't know what happened, man. Fucking A. Him and Jose Benavides. I know Jose got shot, but he really never lived up to how they were dominating the amateur circuit back then. Fucking A, dude. Great memories. Yeah, man. Damn. So his career is over. Yeah, his career is over, bro. He's probably still 30 years old, maybe 31, but you know, I don't think we'll be seeing a return of Frankie Gomez anytime soon. Truly, Trey goes, the only thing Thurman didn't get was the fight with Floyd. Yeah, but at least he got the fight with Pacquiao. I mean, you know, that's still, and it was a really good fight. He got dropped in the first round or the second round. He was more, you know, backpedaling backwards with his hands down, and Pacquiao caught him with a nice lunging, 2-1 combination. Boom! Chin checked him. Thurman, you know, pew, fell down, got back up. Pacquiao started tiring out, and then Thurman started coming out late. And then he got hurt with a body shot, like always. But yeah, man, Thurman, he would have got outboxed by Floyd, you know, but it would have been a great fight. That's one thing that Floyd never gave us, was he never really fought a lot of great black undefeated fighters. You know, he was never going to fight a Sean Porter, a Kell Brook, a Thurman, an Errol Spence. Mayweather would never give us those fights. The time that he did give us a fight like that was against Zab Judah. And Zab Judah dropped him, and then he got choked out by Roger Mayweather, you know. But, you know, that's a different topic for a different day. Let me see if Warp Speed, I don't want to steal his shine, you know, because he's been doing his research. Yeah, Warp Speed or Drew are not hopped on. But let me see if they are going to hop on, because this is their topic. And I don't want to steal their thunder. You know, old boy's been doing research for the past 40 days and still hasn't came to a conclusion. I know yesterday I was talking about that I haven't seen any promotional news or a face down or a face off or a press conference between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. And the boxing gods have answered my request. And it turns out that they did have a face off or a sit down. And it was a really good sit down. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I just got to find it so I can find a good quality, and we'll watch the 15 minutes of it. But it was you can tell that Tyson Fury was annoying Alexander Usyk, especially when he made that comment about his earring. Let me see if I can find that. Let me go Tyson Fury versus Usyk face off. Let me see. Okay, is it TNT Sports? No. Damn, I just watched it right now. Punch Perfect Media PPM. All right. Let me see. Tyson Fury versus face off or sit down. It was called, what is it? Punch Perfect. Here we go.
The undefeated to find out who is the best heavyweight in the world. It's on Saudi Arabia, February the 17th. 2 world champions. This man, Alexander Usyk, and this man, Tyson Fury. Finally signed and sealed. We've got a fight And I've got you around the table. Tyson, I'm going to start with you. We're finally here.
I'm gonna fast forward it because you guys should watch it with better quality and better sound. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay and a lag on the streams, or maybe you guys can be like, "No, man, we can watch it here." You guys gotta let me know because I know on my end I'm getting a little bit of lag, but I want to focus on a couple of parts, and hopefully I can find it. It was towards the middle portion aspect. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's go 7:35.
I know he can't beat me. I know he can't. A man who wears an earring in his ear can never beat Tyson Fury. Ever. You understand that? Yes? Not a chance. No one who wears earrings can beat me.
That is hilarious. That's hilarious. Sorry.
Можу пояснити, що це таке. It's Ukrainian warrior. Козак. Це ті люди, які боронили мою країну багато років від ворога. Тут тільки підтвердження мого козацького роду. Вони нікому не програвали. Тут нема красоти чи моди. Listen, in Ukraine, it means he's a good fighting man for him. But where I'm from, it means he's veneering him. Yeah, that's...
And there's going to be many times in this sit down, in this face off, that Alexander Usyk is going to roll his eyes and tilt his head and look elsewhere because he is a little bit of a annoyed, especially when you're trying to downplay the importance of heritage. You see, it's funny because maybe Fury's trying to get under his skin, but in this video, they'll be talking about how, well, Tyson Fury will say that he respects Alexander Usyk a lot because he is a man of faith, right? And he has a lot of respect for him. He goes on to say all these things, but then he starts talking. He doesn't start talking a lot of trash about his heritage, but the importance of that earring. And while Usyk does explain it, as you guys saw, you know, Fury still doubles down and he goes, "A man with an earring ain't gonna beat me because in my culture it means that you're a pussy." And Alexander Usyk did not take kindly to those words. Just play it back real quick. We'll go 7:30.
Olympic gold medalist. Gotta be. I gotta prove it all again. I know he can't beat me. I know he can't. A man who wears an earring in his ear can never beat Tyson Fury. Ever. You understand that? Yes? Not a chance. No one who wears earrings can beat me. Я можу пояснити, що це таке. It's Ukrainian warrior. Козак. Це ті люди, які боронили мою країну багато років від ворога. Тут тільки підтвердження мого козацького роду. Вони нікому не програвали. Тут нема красоти чи моди. Listen, in Ukraine, it means he's a good fighting man for him. But where I'm from, it means he's veneering him. Yeah, that's just the way I cut it. No. Listen, he's a God-fearing man. So am I. We are the two biggest Christians in boxing. Without a failure. He can train all he wants. I can train all I want. But whoever God wants to win this fight will win. It don't matter if you're from the gutter or the kingdom of wherever. Whoever's chosen to win this fight will win it. More than anything, why I respect you more than all the other boxers is because your faith. Yes, of course. That's why I respect you. Listen, champion, great. But to see someone also, a world champion, who's also big faith in God, is unbelievable. Beautiful. 17 лютого буде один чемпіон. 7.
Yeah, it was a really interesting sit down. Unfortunately, it's only 20 minutes long. I wish it was an hour because there needs to be more dialogue between these two, because during this concise 12-minute face down, maybe there's an extended version of it, but the importance of these conversations that they're having, it's actually quite fantastic. Alexander Usyk brings the seriousness and intensity, right? Even when he was talking about his Cossack lineage and the importance of the piercing, right, on his left ear, when he was like, let me just repeat it, because it almost sounds like he's preaching or he's like saying his vowels. Check this out. 7:40.
A man who wears an earring in his ear can never beat Tyson Fury. Ever. You understand that? Yes. Not a chance. No one who wears earrings can beat me. Я можу пояснити, що це таке. It's Ukrainian warrior. Козак. Це ті люди, які боронили мою країну багато років від ворога. Тут тільки підтвердження мого козацького роду. Вони...
Man, that's awesome. It's a warrior's creed, right? They never lost to anybody. As he says this, Alexander Usyk is undefeated, undisputed, and unified in two separate different weight categories. Bro, Alexander Usyk all the way. All the way. Whew, man. God damn, man. That's going to be a good-ass fight. I mean, I can't say much more than that. Like, I need to see this build-up. It's fantastic. As we size up these fighters, obviously, you know, this uploader, you know, he probably put some white vignettes on the corner edges of the film. As on our left side, Alexander Usyk is all, you know, in a black tuxedo, and Tyson Fury, and he looks a little skinnier. His face looks thinner. Can't really see so much. Again, they don't really sit down. They're already sitting down. They don't really stand up throughout the course of the video. And I don't really think they just shake hands, but they don't really stand up. Anyway, long story short, Tyson Fury looks to be in better shape already now than he did when he fought Francis Ngannou, where he looked like an orca. I don't know when this footage was recorded. I don't know if it was even released. I have yet to find any articles really to talk about this. You know, this is my first time hearing about Punch Perfect Media, and I just typed in the face off, and boom, there it was. But yeah, man, it's gonna be very interesting, this heavyweight fight. I was very skeptical. I was always saying in the previous videos and the previous lives that I have to see it to believe it. I have to first see them walk into the ring. I need to see a press fight conference because there was no promotion to it. And, you know, on January the 25th, basically 2 to 3 weeks out before the fight, looks like a lot of the stuff, a lot of the interviews, a lot of the access to the media will be soon, and then we'll be bombarded with a lot of incredible moments. So hopefully that's the reality of what happens. And I'm looking forward to it, because this is one of the fights in 2024 that needs to happen. Not only that it needs to happen, hopefully we get a rematch and maybe a trilogy, because I don't think we're going to see any fighter between these two get knocked down. I could see Fury getting dropped because I believe that he is a little chinnier than Alexander Usyk. Tyson Fury is not a prolific body puncher, but I have seen Usyk be a little suspect to the body. If you go back, I don't know, 20 years ago, Artur Beterbiev dropped Usyk to a body. And Usyk's couple last fights, I don't know if it was his last fight or the fight before, Daniel Dubois, you know, it was a borderline low blow, but he also dropped him to the body. And Usyk was like, oh, you know, right in the kisser. So maybe Fury realizes something, but I'm going to tell you this. Fury will not get away with the dirty tactics that he was able to impose on Deontay Wilder. It's not going to happen. Usyk is not going to let him lean on him. Usyk has strong legs and thighs. They're not Bambi legs. They're full-fledged warrior legs. And Fury, like how he was trying to impose his weight and size against Francis Ngannou, Usyk is not going to let him have that. Usyk is a great conditioned athlete. He does not tire out, and he gets better in the later rounds. And Fury gets sloppy. So those advantages or that dirty sense of boxing that he does is not going to fly with Alexander Usyk. I will say this, though. I don't know who the trainer of Tyson Fury is, but in his last couple of fights, he likes to target a lot behind the ear. You know, it's a borderline dirty blow. It's a borderline behind the head, but he's targeting behind the ear. In fact, I've been noticing a lot of these coaches are teaching their fighters to hit that soft part of the brain or the head, and it really loses your balance. And you can't really recover from those type of shots because, you know, a lot of fighters don't protect that side of their head because they're not really expecting themselves to get hit behind the head. Truly Trey goes This is what I'm talking about. This is the type of news about Usyk and Fury that should be all over the sports media, but we have to find this. This is for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Absolutely, man. The undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. All right. This should be like, man, absolutely. Let me highlight that comment, man. It's beautifully said. This should be all over the world, right? Maybe it is. Maybe you'll see it. You know, again, it's just something that popped up in the recommendations, and then boom, there it was. Truly Trey goes, Daniel Dubois should have won. Should have won. All right, hold on. Let's check it out. Daniela Ramos, Daniel Dubois versus Usyk. I'm gonna just type in the low blow knockdown by Top Rank. Let me see if I can freeze frame that. I'm gonna go to playback speed, go 0.05. I think that might be as best as I can possibly get it. I can't say that he should have won, you know, but I will say this. It is low, but it's not on Usyk's balls, right? It's not on his genitals. It is above and below. It's above the groins, obviously, and below the belly button. I would have scored that a knockdown, but I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Usyk was putting on a great. I mean, he was showing us his acting ability, right? His impeccable theater. He would have gotten up, right? But he was definitely milking it. And his reaction, you know, if you were in ringside, you would notice that, oh man, his reaction signifies a low blow. The ref would signify a low blow, and on the TV, you would say that it's a low blow. On replay, though, right, you would be like, that could be valid. We saw fights like Abner Mares versus Joseph Agbenko, where he hit him low like 40 times when there was that fight going on between Top Rank and Golden Boy. There was also times that we saw Orlando Salido versus Vasily Lomachenko hit Vasily so many times. And that referee, I think, was Sergio Ramos. I think that's the ref's name, right? He wouldn't call those low blows. Again, I could say it's a theater, but I can't say that Daniel Ball should have won, and mainly because of this. Had the ref started counting, right? If the ref starts to count, I'm pretty sure Alexander Usyk is going to stand up. And I know he will because he's done it in the past, right? Even though I have to go back 15 years to the amateurs when Artur Beterbiev dropped him with a body shot, Usyk still stood up. So I know that he was going to stand up and, you know, and gather together, and he was still going to beat Daniel Dubois. On that same topic, though, salute to Daniel Dubois, because a lot of people were saying that he was a quitter and that he would always be a quitter. And even though Jarrell Miller took a fight, like, I don't know, 2 weeks notice or a month notice, Daniel Dubois did a great job, right, to rejuvenate his career. Now, I'm not going to say that, oh, you know, Jarrell Miller was this amazing fighter. No, as we all know, he took steroids, like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And that's what allowed him to, as heavy set as he is, to really be a force in the division. But nevertheless, Daniel Dubois still did his job. And he closed out the show by knocking out and stopping Jarrell Miller. That was incredible. So I'm going to give him credit, but let's check this out. I don't know. A lot of people say that's a shot on the navel. I don't know, man. Look, that's tough. Because, you know, anything below the top portion of the belt, I would say it's a low blow. Like if I was a ref, I would just be clear in my instruction. If you hit below the top line of the belt, it's a low blow. I'm going to give you time to recover. But sometimes the trunk of a fighter, right, the trunk of the shorts, are extremely high, and they're like damn near at their solar plexus. So then you have to really you have to clarify, You know, at other times, kind of like Tyson Fury, their belt, their shorts are falling down. You can always see that dude's ass crack, right? And he's always got to pick up his jog strap and all these other nonsense things. So, you know, these are the heavyweight divisions. So either the short's going to be extremely hard, or they're going to be sagging. Kind of really depends, right? I can't say that Daniel Dubois should have won, because I will say this: if you can land that body shot or low blow once, you can throw it again and land it for a second time. And Daniel Dubois, you can tell by his face when the ref started counting a low blow, he was flabbergasted. He was already exhausted. You can see like the panic in his eyes, right? He was hyperventilating, like he was breathing extremely hard. Like he was like, fuck, what do I do now? What do I do now? He seemed puzzled and confused, right? But in reality, you should be like, look, bro, just take a deep breath, right? Take a deep breath. If you can land that shot again, do it. Keep throwing it. You got to stay really calm as you've been here before. And he had a lot of panic and a lot of distress, especially when Usyk started landing his combinations. If I'm not mistaken, Usyk, the final blow that stops this fight was, I don't know, a stiff jab over the top of Daniel Dubois, and Daniel Dubois takes a knee and he quits, right? It wasn't an amazing, crazy right hook. It was one of those punches that dropped Kell Brook by Bud Crawford, right? A jab over the top that you don't see coming, and boom, and it just rocks you. Truly, Trey goes right on the diaphragm. Yeah, you know, yeah. I mean, I'm in agreement. You know, I'm agreeing with you, but I don't. I would, like I always say, I'm always gonna call anything below the trunk of the belt low blow. I mean, that's just the way I look at it, and it doesn't look like Usyk shorts are extremely high. You know. Now let me see if Speed and Drew are hopping on. No, I think they're still salty yesterday because I interrupted him, man. Oh man. Alrighty, guys. This is my I'm gonna just cook and I'm gonna end this live within like the next 30 minutes, man. I know that Saudi Arabia and Turki-Al sheik, they have honest intentions, and hopefully, potentially, they buy out Top Rank and they buy out Golden Boy Promotions, right? The reason I say that is boxing needs less competition. They need a UFC model. They need one face, one location, one platform, right? To really hone and make boxing whole again, right? Top Rank, you know, having all their fights on ESPN, Golden Boy and DAZN having all their fights on DAZN, PBC taking it to Amazon Prime. It can't be like that. All of these entities have to come together and be one, right? They have to be one. And the reason I say that is because a while ago, Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, he put his company up for sale, right? This is at the time when he still had Siniesa Estrada, and he was like showcasing his roster. Around the same time, Bob Arum was looking to sell Top Rank as well. Maybe Turki-Al sheik can get his hands on these companies, and maybe they can merge with the zone and work in cohesion and get the sport of boxing structured and organized. Now, for the most part, I'm pretty sure a lot of these PBC fighters, Tank and all of these guys, they're going to stay loyal to Al Heyman. But that will be the downfall of the sport of boxing, because they should be going to one provider. This is why I was extremely upset with PBC going to Amazon Prime when they should have gone to DAZN and should have just made DAZN that powerhouse of boxing that it needs to be. I like DAZN content. Unfortunately, they are liars. They first started here, I don't know, back in 2018, $9.99 for a month, right? They told us there were going to be no pay-per-views, right? They lied about it on everything. Now they're selling us pay-per-view fights for the fights that we actually care and want to see. And their subscription is $20 to $25 per month, right? So I don't really trust the zone to give us the fights, because if they were a monopoly, I'm pretty sure they would try to sell the zone to the American Eye for $50 a month or more. That's how they're going to justify, all the fighters and all the rosters. Turki-Al sheik, on the other hand, he at least understands, and he's not giving us, these expectations that the pay-per-view model is dead. No, in fact, he's understanding that, hey, you guys want to see these fights? They're all going to be on pay-per-view, right? But if he was able to have a roster, I'm curious to see how he's going about building and promoting fighters. Because to my knowledge, he has yet to promote an upcoming prospect. They've yet to build or sign upcoming prospects, right? A lot of the information that's coming out is that he no longer wants YouTube fights. But this is the same guy, right? He doesn't want YouTube fighters, but this is the same guy that's been hosting a lot of the Jake Paul and Logan Paul fights. So he's not against the fuckery. He just wants quality now, right? In the past, or not too long ago, he gave us Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. So I have to question his integrity. Are you just trying to make the popular fights? Or are you really trying to resurrect the sport of boxing? Are you trying to, quote unquote, save the sport of boxing? Because I don't think so. And the reason I say that is, from what I've been hearing, you just want the biggest and greatest fights. And you're trying to steal the fights that American promoters or European promoters have been putting so much effort, blood, sweat, and tears, sleepless nights about building a star, and you just want to just throw your highest purse at them and be like, no, come over here. Let me popularize this Las Vegas resort over here in Saudi Arabia, and let me, make my city popping and not boring for my citizens here, right? So my question is this. Turki-Al, he doesn't have honest intentions to, quote unquote, save the sport of boxing. He just wants the biggest and baddest fights that the world has to offer, while he just pays the highest dollar from it. Now, from a boxer standpoint, like if I was an active professional boxer, if I'm Tank Davis, you gonna pay me how much? 75 guaranteed million? Man, I'm taking it. But what about all the people and your people from Baltimore, from the United States of America? Guess what? They can't sit ringside and support you like they do in Las Vegas, like they do in Carson, California, like they do in Texas, like they do in the DMV. I have a problem with that because, you see, money buys everything. This guy has no intention about building a prospect. I've yet to see him build one fighter. Give him Keyshawn Davis. Let me see what you can do with him. Match him up. So he's not really trying to save the sport of boxing. He just wants, like most boxing fans do, if we had the money, we would try to offer Devin Haney and Tank Davis, hey, how about you guys fight for all these marbles, in Las Vegas or in California or whatever, at I don't know, the Alamo Dome or, Jerry's World and AT&T, whatever the stadium fight. That's all Turki-Al is trying to do. He's not trying to save the sport of boxing. To be honest with you, he doesn't really care about the sport of boxing. Now, in the cameras, you can paint me a story that, oh, I'm a big fan of Robert Duran. I'm a big fan of Larry Holmes. Okay, so are the other 10 billion people in the world that support the sport of boxing. That's nothing new. You can be faking the funk and just having all these fights. If he really cared about not giving us, quote unquote, YouTube fights and exhibition fights, why did he start off with Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury and try to sell off the people that those are the two baddest men in the world? No, you're just trying to look for the best and popular fights. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, we can ask a lot of series of questions. Is boxing worth saving? Is Turki-Al Sheik the guy to save the sport of boxing? Do the fighters care that their fans are able to go to the stadium and support them and chant Tank, Tank, Tank? Or sing Sweet Caroline? Do they care about that? Do the fighters care about their fans? I'm going to be completely honest with you. These are the type of questions that you should ask Turki-Al Sheik. I don't care about your intentions about building an oasis in the desert. I don't care about you building the amazing hotels or an amazing stadium of the labors of people while they're dying of dehydration. Now, I don't know if that's true, but in the Olympics for the soccer, right? The World Cup, it's basically what they were doing. The players were complaining, bro, it's like 160 degrees out here. Like, what the fuck is going on? Imagine the workers that, I don't know, it was being reported that they were dying of dehydration in unstable conditions, living like conditions. They didn't care, man. So again, maybe I'm just talking out the side of my neck. Maybe I don't know nothing. Maybe he's very, like he's gives the fighters and the fans a lot of hospitality. And he's like, no, man, you got AC. You'll be taken care of. I've yet to see a regular person host one of his events. In fact, it's all for show. It's all for cameras. Let me pan the audience, the American fan base. They are like, man, I'm sick of seeing, Travis Kelce and I don't know that country singer. Oh my God, how do I forget her name? Taylor Swift. I apologize. They're annoyed by seeing Taylor Swift all over the boxing sports and the news and making a big old deal and giving her so much spotlight. But essentially, that's what Turki-Al Sheik is doing. It's all for show. Let me boost up the ratings by offering Mike Tyson ringside. Oh, Cristiano Ronaldo sitting next to Conor McGregor. It's all for show, right? Look, he did give us a great fight, right, and a great undercard between Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder. It was a heavyweight fight, right? You had Junior Fall versus Frank Sanchez. You had AJ versus Otto Wallin. You had Dimitri Bivol return against Arthur Linden. It was a good undercard. It was a good night of boxing. Shouldn't have been pay-per-view. None of those guys were champions. Only Bivol. And he wasn't even fighting for unification or essentially a mandatory. It was a voluntary defense, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know about Turki-Al Sheik's intentions, all right? Because like the rest of the world, like Dana White when he was trying to create Zuffa boxing, guess what he was trying to do? He wanted all the fights as well. Truly, Trey goes, less is more. I absolutely agree. Once these promoters not start working together, but once they unite as one, this A side, B side, this side of the street, my side of the road, none of that is going to be applicable. It's not going to matter. If Turki-Al Sheik bought out Top Rank and Golden Boy, then I can believe that he has honest intentions of saving the sport of boxing and making it a powerhouse that I know that boxing could be, right? If you look at the movies, let's just compare movies. Raging Bull, directed by Martin Scorsese, right? If you were to compare that movie to, let's say, the best UFC movie out there with Tom Hardy called Warrior, Raging Bull is that much better. If you were to compare Cinderella Man, acted by Russell Crowe, it's that much better. The Fighter with Christian Bale, right? The Mickey Ward film with Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg. It's that much better than Warrior. The reason I'm comparing films is the storylines in the history of boxing will always be grander and much better than the storylines of UFC, right? The history is very important. To carry the WBC strap, even though I don't really agree with anything, the politics and the business move and the franchise bill and the regulations of Mauricio Herrera, it would be an honor knowing that Roberto Duran had that belt, Sugar Ray Leonard had that belt, Sugar Ray Robinson, and many Ultimate Fighters had those belts. And guess what? I would become in the future a WBC champion. Not so much because I want to honor the standing of the WBC. No, because I honor and respect those previous champions that walked around with that WBC strapped to their chest or to their waistline. Truly, Trey goes, A side and B side really don't matter if you can't make fights that make money. A side and B side really don't matter if you, I think if you can't make fights that make money. Look, well, I'll say this. Bivol and Beterbiev, right? This is where I think Turki-Al Sheik has his place in the sport of boxing. Is I don't think that he is deserving of the best fights that promoters have been building these prospects into contenders once they pass the contender phase into champions, into unified ones, right? Multi-divisional champions or pound for pound. I don't think Turki-Al Sheik deserves those fights just because you are the richest man in the world, right? Again, money buys everything, money corrupts, power corrupts, blah, blah, blah. What I'm just saying is this. But there are important fights like Dimitri Bivol, like Artur Beterbiev, where, you know, they're not going to generate money because they're not household names. Even though how fantastic and great their boxing skills are, their power, right? These are the fighters and the face of boxing. Artur Beterbiev and Bivol, their respective pound for pound fighters, undefeated fighters, and they've done amazing things and given us really good fucking fights. There's a place for Turki-Al Sheik to be like, you know what? This is where I'm going to be the highest bidder. This is where I get my foot on the door by giving the diehard fans these fights because I can afford them, right? See, one of the biggest problems is in the sport of boxing, it's not that there aren't outlets that are going to put Devin versus Tank. No, everybody would love to promote and showcase that fight. The reality is you can't get Tank Davis to do anything. He's made a career of fighting C class, B class fighters without taking risks, right? On the other side, there's moments and fighters like Beterbiev and Bivol where they have taken risks when they have fought a lot of undefeated or potential threats to their careers, and people don't have the money to put a die-hard fight like that. This where Turki-Al Sheik has his place in the sport of boxing, man. That's where he can make his place and have his foot in the door. Anyway, so I can't really speak on another man's intentions. I know there's a lot of interviews, but again, what you tell me on camera and what you show me in terms of your fights, he just wants the biggest popular fights. Unless he says, you know what? Give me Iamanta Stanionis versus Butayev and let me build those fighters. Until he builds a fighter like that, then I can be like, you know what, dude? This guy, I like this guy. Once he starts to, you know, play the game, then I can believe him that he's trying to save the sport of boxing, that he's a diehard. Other than that, you just looks to me like you're another DAZN that's making headlines with with $10 billion contract or $1 trillion, you know, budget, and be like, you know what, I'm gonna take over the American scene. You don't think that the executives of Showtime and HBO, Peter Nelson and Steven Espinoza, you don't think that they were diehard boxing fans? They've put more blood, sweat, and tears into the sport of boxing than Turki-Al Sheik ever has. But again, money does talk here, especially when it comes down to a dirty sport and paying off the correct people, right? I mean, not too long ago, there was this Irish mobster. I'm forgetting his name, right? But he was buying out and making all of these fights happen. I'm not gonna say that Bob Arum gathered the scoop and had the feds on them. You know, that's just allegations, and I'm not trying to get sued over here, but Bob Arum was very frightened to go to the UK on certain fights of Tyson Fury, right? And Tyson Fury, I think there was he was subpoenaed and to talk about this gentleman. By any chance, do you guys know the name that I'm not speaking of? Let me Google it, man. He's like a big mobster. He's slanging a lot of dope. Let me see. His name was. Oh boy. Daniel Kinahan. Daniel Kinahan was that mobster's name, right? You know, supposedly Tyson Fury and many others had associations with, you know, the mobster of Daniel Kinahan. Look, that's all I really got to say. But I've seen many times, many promoters, many outlets, many successful streaming business partners like DAZN give us amazing headlines and not for show, throwing a bunch of money. And again, kind of like I started the video, the stars are aligning and history is repeating itself. I don't know if these people have honest intentions of saving the sport of boxing and building fights and building careers, or do you just want to be the platform that hosts the most popular fights like Tank versus Devin, like Tank versus Shakur, like Canelo versus David Benavidez, and pay these fighters $100 million? If you're looking to do that, okay, fine. Feel free to do whatever it is that you want. But are you going to allow regular fans to attend these fights? Or is it only going to be exclusive to the elites? These are a lot of questions that people have to ponder and ask. And we'll go from there. But on that note, guys, I talked my piece. Thank you guys for giving me a little time of day, a little bit of your ear, and just shooting the shit with the sport of boxing. As always, man, it's a pleasure. Have a good night. And maybe Turki-Al sheik will create a Super Bowl weekend for the sport of boxing. Peace.